creative friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we're working on a layout for my October Daily 2022. So I am finishing up some pages from my album last year before I get fully involved in my 2023 album. This one happens to be day 14, if I remember correctly, and I am using the Tag Stacker die from Journals for Life. This is a really fun die that gives you a lot of extra space for pictures or tags or journaling. So I had just shown you the turquoise die, and what I had done is I had used a 4x8 traveler's notebook sized piece of paper. Now the die itself is actually closer to, I think, 4.5 because it has some flaps on the end. And those are supposed to be used to fold under, and you can adhere the flaps to either your traveler's notebook, or in this case I'm using a black piece of cardstock. Now because I used a piece of paper that was a little bit smaller, I don't have the flaps on the side, and that is totally okay. The die works just as well using a smaller piece of paper. So what I'm doing is taking a very thin double-sided tape. I think it's an 1/8 of an inch wide, and I'm just going along the edges. Now what I was showing you with that tag at the top, this die is meant to have a large tag or has space for a large tag at the top. And I loved the way it looked, especially the white contrasting with the bright orange and the black, but I end up not really having enough pictures or words, so I am not going to use the top. I did leave it open and did not put tape on it just in case I changed my mind. Right here I am using the large tag as a template. I've printed out these pictures 3x4, and I just want them in a traditional tag shape. So I'm just cutting off the corners, as you can see there, and then I'm using the pre-made tag as a template to punch my holes. So now let me tell you a little bit about this story. These pictures are of Cocoa Bombs. Last year my kids were really into the Cocoa Bombs. They were popular everywhere. We picked them up all the time. And if you haven't used one before, you put this ball of chocolate in a cup or mug of really warm milk, and the chocolate melts away, and inside there's cocoa powder, or marshmallows, or various treats for your cocoa. So I was at Costco, and they had this large box of eyeball shaped Cocoa Bombs, and I love anything that's Halloween themed, so I had to pick it up. We tried them at home, and as you can tell, they're white and they're a white chocolate base. They didn't actually taste as good as I was hoping, but they still looked fabulous. And so I have a picture here of the whole package, and then I have a picture of one in a mug. I thought it looked a lot like a witch's cauldron, so I'm pulling out the cauldron die cut from the Journals for Life Halloween kit, and then I'm going to end up putting a black tag at the top that has like a witch's sentiment on it. So right here, I wanted a little bit more decoration on my orange piece of paper. So I pulled out the stamp set from the kit, and to the right on that white and chevron colored, or gray ink chevron, I was doing a test stamping. The additional paper in these kits have a little bit of a glossy finish on them. They're really sturdy, high quality paper. Because of the glossiness, I was suspecting that I was going to have to use a StazOn ink only to avoid smudging. And what you saw is I had pulled over a scrap piece of paper that I had from a previous kit, and I was practicing my stamping to make sure it didn't smear. Now I did use the StazOn, as you can see here. I did try out both StazOn and a regular dye ink on this paper, and neither one of them smeared. So I think, I'm not sure if it's later in the video, but there we go. I use this Versaclear is my favorite black ink, and so I wanted to try if it smeared, and it does not. So both kinds of ink work great. I think I must have just gone back to the StazOn just to be on the safe side. I loved this little skeleton hand that's pointing. I used it just because I loved it. It ends up being covered up by the tags, but that's fine. If you pull the tags out, you can see it. So now I think there I'm just removing some of the adhesive to make sure that the pictures can fit in. Now, with this die, you can also turn it the other direction and put longer tags in there. In this particular scenario, I'm just using tags that are approximately 3 by 4. I pulled out this tag that came in the die cut pack, but I didn't want pink on this spread. This particular spread is all black and orange, and so because I had this scrap piece of paper on my desk and it was black and white, I ended up using that and just using the pre-cut die cut tag as a template. It was not my intention initially, but it was sitting there, and sometimes when things are just sitting on our desk, we're more likely to use them, and that's kind of what happened here. So on the tag that I make, I am just going to use the back side to do some journaling about the story I just told you about the Cocoa Bombs. And then I'm also going to use the other side to just play around with some of the stamps that came in the kit. So I'm looking for a number. As you saw there, I have a embroidery floss plastic box that I divide all my numbers into. And I was just looking for one that I thought would go. This number is from Vicki Boutin's Evergreen and Holly collection last year for Christmas actually, but it's black and white, and so I'm using a bunch of them for my October Daily album. Now these particular chipboard pieces are really thick. I think they're a little thicker than your standard chipboard piece. So what I ended up doing is ripping off about half of the background, and I still have a really good dimensional piece, but it's just not so bulky. Now I'm not sure if I do it on camera, but if you can see that black edge on the left side, that is where the holes, I'm going to punch holes for my Life Crafted album. In 2022, I did 2 6x8 albums. And this particular page is approximately 5 by 8.25. That black left side is going to be where my holes punch. And so in both of my albums, I do a variety of different page sizes and inserts and tags, and just to make it more fun for the viewer to look at. So here I am playing around with the stamp set, just kind of having fun, seeing what images I want to use. I always test out my stamping before I do it on my actual project. You'll often see me pull out just a scratch piece of paper from the garbage bin, or I have some nicer cardstock scraps on the side of my desk. This particular time I stamped out the witch's hat, and then I wasn't sure if it would kind of layer well with the black cat and the orange hat, so I am just doing a fussy cut out of the sample stamping that I had done, and I'll adhere that on top of the cat. Usually when we layer our stamps, we want to do something lighter on the bottom, and because this cat was black, I didn't think it was going to show up as well, so this worked out just fine. And then I use some gray color to do some ghost stamping. Right there, I have started doing sample stamping. I got this idea from Andrea, who's the owner at Journals for Life. She does this with her stamps, and I was so excited by it that I thought that's a great way to play with them and see how they look before I put them on my final project. So I pulled that out to kind of see what some options were, and then that's when I decided to pull out the gray and do several ghost stamps. They end up not showing up very well, but if you look closely enough at the actual stamp, you can see them there. And again, this was just for playing around, just to have fun. Now, you can see on my desk, I've got some oxide inks and I've got some Catherine Pooler inks. The Catherine Pooler inks are a very, very juicy, gorgeous, rich colored ink. And they can bleed through some of your papers if you have a thinner paper. Now, this tag paper would have worked fine. I know it's thick enough. But the oxide inks are also great. They give us more subtle color if you want something that's more muted. And also if you're stamping directly into the Traveler's Notebook, the oxides work great with not much bleeding. In fact, probably very little bleeding to the other side. I don't use the Catherine Pooler inks when I stamp directly into a Traveler's Notebook because they tend to bleed because they're so rich in pigment. But so here I'm still just playing around. I think I stamped Boo Crew, October. Now I'm just putting some pumpkins just to have fun. Now I will in a little bit add some ribbon or some twine to my tags. I always like to have just a little topper. It makes it look like a traditional tag. There's my bin of various twines. Now, another thing that would have worked well for these would have been to do a hole reinforcer on the tags. Now, I've got a punch and a die that makes hole reinforcers, and that is a great way to use some other papers from your stash or from the kit if you want different colors to coordinate. And the hole reinforcers will help to make the hole stronger. So if people are pulling on the twine or the tag, it's not going to rip. In this particular case, I didn't think people are going to be pulling these out that often, and so I didn't bother with it, but a lot of times I will do a hole reinforcer. Plus, they just look really cute because you can add additional colors. So here I'm just mixing. I do a black and white, I think on 2 of them, and an orange and white on 1 of them. And I remembered I had not adhered down my number. Because it was chipboard, I find that the tape runner does not work very well on the back of the chipboard. It starts to sort of peel up, and so just adding a little glue worked well there. Now, I ended up as you can see, stamping a web with a spider on the left, which then gave me an opening on the right side to put my number. And I feel like that gives it some balance to the spread. Something on the left, something on the right. And then we've got all this heaviness down below with the pictures. So that's where a larger tag could go. And I do really like the white there, but like I mentioned, I just didn't really have any other pictures or any other words. So, but you can see where that would have been a good option to do. So I'm just measuring to see how much space I have for my journaling. And actually, I think I mentioned I put the journaling on the tag that I made, and that's not correct. I actually print out journaling and I put it back on the back side of this mug. tag. And then in the spooky kit, there are these clear black stickers, and I added it to the mug, the word spooky, and it almost looks like it's printed right on the picture. So that was really fun, and I liked how that came out. So here I am finishing up, adhering my journaling. I'm just going to cut off the extra. And I think for the most part, this spread is done. If you have any questions about how it came together, please leave me a comment below. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe to my channel. I would love to see you back for some more videos. And if you are doing any October documenting, I would love to see what you're doing. So feel free to tag me, and I would get a kick out of what you're making. So have a great crafty day. I hope you can get some October documenting done, and I will see you in the next video.